So what is the primary target customer for Isle Service?
Our primary customer are generally end users. That's a bit broad. Our primary customer within that is municipal utilities, so those that are treating water, providing sanitation services for the public.
And what do they usually come to you for as the first service you're going to offer?
They come to us to just really understand what's the landscape of emerging technologies and to drill down to find those that are credible. There are no shortage of technologies, there's thousands out there, but the challenge is finding the right ones and implementing them in the most de-risked way possible. So they come to us for that advice.
And how does that workflow look from Isle's perspective and from the municipality's perspective?
So the workflow is typically they share with us their challenge or their problem, and we really want to understand that from an operational level, right. From their systems and really what their goals are. It could be something short term, it could be longer term, and we look at what technical solutions are out there. In most cases, they're not just technologies here in the US, they're globally. So we scan technologies, and the great thing is we work with utilities around the world. So some of the successes that we hear about are from the actual clients that are adopting them, and we can share that with other utilities in the sector.
Which country do you think is leading the way here, Cristina, with respect to water technology?
Definitely Israel is really well known as being a leader and pioneer on certain practices in the water industry, like water recycling, as an example, and leading sort of the data revolution. But the UK has been really a great example, as well as Australia. So those are all sort of key leaders in the space.
And in each one of those cases, is it that there's been some domestic need that's emerged that's caused that technological evolution, or what's the driving force behind it?
Yes, it's driven by need, and then what's interesting to me, our company is in those markets. I don't personally serve that, but what I observe is the governance is different in those sectors. So it's the need matched with the governance of how water is managed that I think create a different type of market.
How does the new technologies, Internet of Things and connected cloud-based opportunities merge with the legacy infrastructure that's been around for 30 or 40 years? The transition path that's being created, how are your customers navigating it?
It's quite interesting actually, because we serve utilities of all sizes, and there are smaller utilities that they don't have data. So they don't have a good understanding of their system. They know how to operate it really well, and what they're asking themselves is what are we implementing to monitor and gather data? So they're really at that early step. And then we have some of the larger utilities that have an abundance of data. They're monitoring a ton of things, and they're asking, how do we aggregate it to make better decisions, particularly with infrastructure challenges and looking to upgrade their systems, is how to leverage data. So we really see it in a broad sense.
Those big municipalities that have all the data, a lot of it unstructured, a lot of it structured, are they using machine intelligence in a wide way today already to try to make predictive decisions?
Not so much. That's very much an emerging space. I think particularly the last 12 months, we've seen a lot of companies that are sort of branding themselves in a position of leveraging artificial intelligence. So that's very much an emerging space right now for the water sector. But we're just scratching the surface, really.
What do you think is the 1 or 2 and 3 primary challenges that the water infrastructure and municipal utilities are going to face in the coming decade?
Well, I think the one that I hear the most is not necessarily related to technology at all. It's about just funding and affordability. So
just budgetary constraints.
So you have sort of the need to address a lot of the aging infrastructure that is now at that critical point of having to rehab or replace, whether it's pipelines or the infrastructure assets of the treatment facility, with budget challenges, competing priorities for where available funding's going, as well as conservation is reducing budgets for a lot of larger utilities. So I think that's a challenge, is the funding, and a lot of utilities are driven by affordability. They want to bring their clients the best quality water and sanitation services at an affordable price. So I think continuing to keep that in mind, and that's where technology comes in, is how do you leverage the best innovations responsibly that have been de-risked to enable that to happen.